I want to start with a question that has nothing to do with credit cards, has nothing to do with points and miles. When was the last time you took a real trip? Not a work trip, not driving 4 hours for a funeral or a wedding that you couldn't get out of, an actual trip. Time off on purpose with people you love, people you care about, doing something you'll actually remember. If you had to think about it for more than a few seconds, this episode is exactly for you. Here's a number that stopped me cold once I read it. Almost a quarter of American workers took 0 vacation days last year. 0. Not saved a few for later, none. And the majority of us don't even use all the days we've already earned. Researchers put a number on it. Over $300 billion in paid time off earned sitting there unused every single year. We treat skipping vacation like it's a badge of honor, like it proves we're serious, committed, grinding. And then I started reading what medical researchers have found about what actually happens to people who don't take time off. And I'm going to be honest with you, it changed how I think about this entire game this podcast is built on. Because the deal is, I started this podcast to help you fly places for nearly free. But somewhere along the way, I realized the flight was never the point. What the flight buys you, the time, the people, the memories, what it does for your body and your brain, that's actually the point. Today, no card announcements, no devaluations, no transfer bonus news. Today, I'm going to show you what the research says a vacation actually does for you. And then I'm going to show you why the points and miles game might be the most underrated tool you have for getting more of it. Stay with me here. This might be the most important episode I've ever made. Welcome back to the Points Rookie, the show that takes you from clueless to confident in the world of credit card points and miles. I'm Lane. Quick roadmap for today, because this episode is built a little bit different. First half, we're going to talk about the research, what scientists and doctors have found about what time off does for your heart, your stress, your brain, and your relationships. Now listen, I am not a doctor. Maybe I stayed at a Holiday Inn, and maybe I paid for that Holiday Inn in points and miles, but I am not a real doctor, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. Everything that I share today comes from published studies, and I'll tell you where it comes from as we go. The second half, well, this is the part where this show earns its name, because when researchers ask people why they don't travel, the answers are always the same two things: time and money. I can't give you more vacation days, but money? Money is the excuse I know how to kill. And in the back half of this episode, I'm going to show you exactly how transfer partners, transfer bonuses, card benefits, the whole toolkit aimed at one target: getting you on more trips this year than you thought were possible. Let me introduce you to the Framingham Heart Study. This is one of the most famous, longest-running heart health studies in American history. It's been following generations of families since the 1940s. When your doctor talks about heart disease risk factors, a lot of that knowledge traces back to the Framingham study. And buried in that research is a finding about vacations, of all things. Researchers found that men who went years without taking a vacation were about 30% more likely to have a heart attack than men who took regular time off. Not from smoking, not from cheeseburgers, from not taking vacations. The finding for women is the one that really got me. Researchers found that women who took a vacation only once every 6 years or less were nearly 8 times more likely to develop coronary heart disease compared to women who vacationed at least twice a year. 8 times. Let that sit for a second. And there's more. A 9-year study of the State University of New York followed thousands of men and found that the ones who took annual vacations had roughly a 20% lower risk of death overall during the study period, and up to 30% lower risk of death from heart disease. Now, this is important. I'm a guy with a microphone. I am no cardiologist, as if that really needed to be said. I'm not telling you that a beach trip prevents heart attack. Nobody can promise you that. And anybody who does is just selling you something. What I'm telling you is what the researchers found. Across decades of data, the people who took regular time off did meaningfully better than the people who didn't. That pattern shows up again and again in study after study. We think of vacation as a luxury, a reward, something that you earn after everything else is handled. The research suggests it's closer to maintenance, like sleep, like exercise, something your body is quietly asking for whether you schedule it or not. Okay, so why? Why would time off show up in heart health data? Let me break this down the way it finally clicked for me. Your phone has a battery icon. When it hits 10%, it turns red and starts screaming at you. And you plug it in unless either A, you're a monster, or B, you're my father and he waits until it's completely dead. Your body has the same system. It's just quieter about it. When you're under stress, deadlines, kid schedules, the email you keep rereading at 9 p.m., your body releases stress hormones. The big one is called cortisol. Cortisol is useful in short bursts. It's your body's emergency mode. The problem is that a lot of us live in emergency mode for weeks, months, even years. The battery icon's been red so long, we forget it used to be green. And here's where the vacation research comes in. Scientists did what's called a meta-analysis. That's when researchers take a whole pile of individual studies, in this case more than 50 of them, and they analyze the result all together to see what holds up. And what held up was this. Vacations were consistently associated with lower cortisol levels, better sleep quality, and improved heart health variability, which is a fancy way of saying your heart handles stress more smoothly. Another study out of Syracuse University found that people who vacationed more frequently over the past year had a lower risk of metabolic syndrome. That's the cluster of things like high blood pressure and high blood sugar that raises your risk of heart disease and diabetes. And it's not just your body. Researchers studying the brain have found that real downtime activates what neuroscientists call the default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for the creative thinking and connecting of ideas. It's why your best ideas show up in the shower, on a walk, or on day 3 or 4 of a trip when you're not trying to have ideas at all. Your body already knows all of this. The research just gives it a citation. Now, this next part is my favorite finding in the entire episode, and I promise you're going to start using it this week. The happiness from a trip doesn't start when you board the plane. It starts the moment that you book it. Researchers at the Institute for Applied Positive Research surveyed people and found that 97% of respondents said simply having a trip planned makes them happier. A study out of the University of Surrey found that people were at their happiest when they had a vacation on the calendar, before they'd gone anywhere. Here's what's happening in your brain. When you have something good coming, a trip, a reunion, a long weekend, your brain releases dopamine just from imagining it. Neuroscientists have found that anticipating a positive experience lights up the same reward centers as actually having it. Your brain literally pre-experiences the trip for weeks, sometimes even months. Some researchers have even found that people report being happier during the planning phase of a vacation than after they get back, which sounds backwards until you think about it. Anticipation is all upside. There's no delayed flights, no sunburn, no arguing about where to eat, just the good part on loop every time you think about it. So here's the reframe that I want you to walk away with. A book trip is not a future expense. It's a happiness machine that starts paying you the moment you hit confirm. That date on the calendar works for you every single day between now and departure. And this is the part that nobody tells you. The cheapest happiness upgrade in travel, well, is simply having the next trip booked. Remember that phrase. It's about to become the whole strategy. Now, for the honest part of the research, because I'm not going to cherry pick it for you, the glow from a vacation fades. Researchers have measured it. Most people come back feeling more positive and more energized, but studies found those benefits mostly wear off within a few weeks of getting back to normal life. One analysis found that feelings of exhaustion crept back to pre-vacation levels within about 3 to 4 weeks. Some people hear that and go, see? Vacations are pointless. You just end up back where you started. That's the wrong lesson. Here's the right one. And it's in the research too. Scientists looking at this fade-out effect concluded that stretching one vacation longer doesn't fix it. What works better is frequency. Regular, shorter breaks spread across the year beat one giant annual trip. Your body doesn't want one feast. It wants regular meals. And when I read that, I actually laughed out loud because that is exactly, accidentally, how I already travel. I don't do one big 2-week extravaganza every summer. I do long weekends, several of them a year, Thursday night flight out, Monday night flight home. Every single one recharges me. I used to think I was doing it wrong because it didn't look like the big 2-week trips that we see in commercials or all over social media. Turns out I wasn't doing it wrong. I was doing what the research recommends. First time for everything, right? But now connect the dots with the third block that we talked. If the anticipation of a trip makes you happier for weeks before you leave, and the benefits after a trip last a few weeks after you're back, then 4 trips a year means you are almost never not in the glow. You're either looking forward to a trip, on a trip, or fresh off one. Nearly year-round coverage. One big trip a year gives you anticipation window and one afterglow. 4 small trip gives you 8. There's just one problem with this plan. 4 trips a year sounds expensive, right? But stay with me, because this is where it gets good. Let's go back to that number from the cold open. Nearly a quarter of American workers took 0 vacation days last year. 62% don't use all their paid time off. $312 billion in earned vacation left on the table. When researchers ask why, people say they're too busy. They feel guilty. They're worried about falling behind. And underneath a lot of it is money. Because a family trip priced in cash can be brutal. Flights for 4, hotel for 3 nights, you're staring at $2, $3, or more $1,000 before anyone eats a meal. So the trip goes on the someday list once again. And here's what makes that so backwards. Researchers at Cornell spent years studying what kind of spending actually make people happy. They're finding satisfaction with material stuff, the TV you bought, the couch, the gadget, that fades over time. Satisfaction with experience grows over time. The memory appreciates. The couch depreciates. Think about your own childhood for a second. I'll bet you can't tell me what your family's living room furniture looked like when you were 9. But I'll bet you can tell me about a trip, a beach, a campsite, your grandmother's kitchen in another state, the time everything went wrong and it became the story your family still tells. That's the asset class we're investing in, and people are skipping it. The thing the researchers say pays the highest return because of the price of the plane ticket. So let's fix the plane ticket. This block is the whole reason Points Rookie exists. Everything I've taught you on this show, transfer partners, transfer bonuses, card benefits, I want you to see it all again, and right now through one new lens. Every one of these tools is a machine for buying back the thing the research says matters the most. Time away with your people more often. All right, time for a word from our sponsor. Still nothing? Okay, so until corporate America discovers me, the sponsor is you. When you're ready for your next card, use my referral links in the show notes. The same cards, the same bonus, but I earn a few points for sending you. Everybody wins. Nobody reads terms and conditions. There's also Buy Me a Coffee, and the link is down there too if you want to fuel the podcast. And another option is you can subscribe and share this with a friend who wants nearly free travel. Back to the episode. Let me break this down into 3 levers. Level 1, transfer partners are the price destroyer. If you've heard my transfer partner series, you know the framework. Map, search, transfer, book. The points sitting in your Chase or Amex account can transfer to airlines and hotels, usually 1-to-1, and book travel at a fraction, sometimes a tiny fraction of the cash price. Here's what that looks like when you aim it at the long weekend lifestyle the research just endorsed. That family flight math from the last block, $1,000+ for 4 round-trip domestic flights. Transfer your points to Southwest, and that becomes roughly 100,000 points earned from groceries and gas you were buying anyway. Cancel anytime. Points come right back. The scary number in the family budget conversation just left the conversation. The trip to Europe you've mentally filed under maybe for a big anniversary someday. Air France KLM Flying Blue runs promo awards almost every single month. During those windows, a round-trip economy seat to Paris can drop to 30 to 40,000 miles. That's one sign-up bonus. That's not a someday trip. That's a this-year trip. And my favorite proof, my family's Hawaii trip, booked for next year. Flights for my family cost about $25 even. That is not a typo. $25, 5 hotel nights, all on points. And right now, I'm hunting a word space to add 2 more nights on a second island, also on points. That trip exists because of transfer partners. Hold that thought, because I'm coming back to it at the end. Lever 2, transfer bonuses. The same trip, but a whole lot cheaper. You know the rule. Never transfer speculatively. Confirm the award first. But when you've done the search and the award is real, a transfer bonus is the machine working overtime. A 30% bonus means the 40,000-mile flight cost you about 31,000 bank points. Same seat, same memory, fewer points, which means the next trip gets here faster. That's the reframe I want you to hear. A transfer bonus isn't just a discount. It's frequency fuel. Every point you don't spend on this trip is a down payment on the next anticipation window, the next date on the calendar, quietly making you happier every day you look at it. Let's look at lever 3, card benefits for the trip you already paid for. This is the most ignored lever. And for a family running the long weekend playbook, it might be the strongest one. If you're carrying a travel card with an annual fee, you are very likely sitting on benefits designed for exactly this kind of travel. And most people let them expire. Hotel free night certificates that come with a card every year, that's a night of your weekend handled every year automatically. Annual travel credits that quietly erase a couple $100s of bookings, free check bags on airline cards for a family of 4, that's real money every single trip, and it stacks up fast when you take 4 trips a year instead of just the one. And Southwest's Companion Pass, the crown jewel for families, where one person's points effectively fly 2 people on every flight for as long as you hold it. Here's the thing about all of these benefits. They reward frequency. A free night certificate is worthless if you never go anywhere. Check bag benefits pay off per trip. The more often you travel, the harder those benefits work for you. The card companies accidentally built a system that pays you to do exactly what the research says is best for you. Now put the levers together. Transfer partners crush the flight cost. Card benefits eat the hotel and the fees. Transfer bonuses stretch everything further. What's left of the $2,000 to $3,000 trip? Taxes, fees, and food. Double digits, sometimes. The research says frequent trips beat one big one. The excuse was money. The machine kills the excuse. The someday list doesn't survive contact with this system. That's not a slogan, that's just the math. Okay, if you came to this episode for the actionable stuff, this block is for you. Because everything I just said about anticipation and frequency sounds nice. But there's a practical question hiding under it. How do you actually keep a trip on the calendar year-round without blowing up your budget or your schedule? Here's the system in 3 parts. Let me break it down for you. Part 1. Book before you're 100% sure. Award Travel lets you do this. This is the single biggest mindset to unlock in this entire episode, so stay with me here. The reason most people never put a date on the calendar is fear of commitment. What if work gets crazy? What if the kids' schedules change? A cash ticket punishes you for that uncertainty. Change fees, fare differences, non-refundable hotel rates. So people wait until they're sure, and they're never sure, and the trip never gets booked. And they never get a single day of that anticipation happiness we talked about. Award bookings flip this completely. You already know the star of the show if you heard the Transfer Partner series, Southwest. Book an award flight with points, and if life happens, you cancel, up to 10 minutes before departure, and every point goes right back in your account. No fees, no penalty, no awkward phone call. and it's bigger than Southwest. In recent years, most major U.S. airlines have gotten dramatically friendlier about canceling award tickets booked through their own programs. Many will redeposit your miles with no fee. Hotel award nights are often the same story. Many standard award bookings cancel free up to a few days before checking. Every program is different, so check the cancellation rules before you book. Make that part of your routine. But here's the pattern. Points bookings are usually reversible in ways cash bookings are not. Think about what that means. The thing stopping you from booking, what if something changes, mostly doesn't apply to award travel. You can put the trip on the calendar today, start collecting weeks of anticipation happiness immediately, and if life truly gets in the way, you unbook it and you lose almost nothing. Nobody talks about cancellation policies as a happiness strategy, but that's exactly what they are. Booking early is where the anticipation glow comes from, and award travel makes booking early nearly risk-free. Now let's talk about the long weekend booking pattern. I want to make this concrete for the trip style the research recommends, and that's the long weekend. Open Google Flights and search your route with the price calendar, hover across the dates, and watch the prices appear. You're hunting for cheap Thursday through Monday or Friday to Monday windows about 60 to 90 days out. Here's why that matters for points. The cheap cash dates are usually the dates with the best award availability. Low demand means airlines release more award seats. The calendar is basically highlighting your award sweet spots in green. Then run the tools you already know, like Points Path alongside Google Flights to see the award prices, Seats.Arrow if you need to confirm space, map, search, transfer, book. Sound familiar? And here's the beautiful part about long weekends specifically. They're cheap in points. A domestic round trip often runs 20 to 30,000 points per person. You don't need 100,000 point ballots to play this game. One sign-up bonus can fund 2 or 3 long weekends. Add a hotel free night certificate, the one renewing on your card every year, whether you use it or not, and a 2-night trip might cost you 1 award night and pocket change. Big trips need big balances. Long weekends need pocket points. That's why frequency is realistic here. This is the habit that ties the whole episode together. At any given moment, I want you to have 1 trip booked, a real date on the calendar, and 1 trip brewing, the next one in research mode, browsing award space, watching a transfer bonus, building the list of what you do there. When the booked trip happens, the brewing trip gets booked, and you start brewing the next one. That's it. That's the whole system. Look at what this does. The research said the glow fades a few weeks after you're back, but with 1 booked and 1 brewing, there's always a next date working on you. You've turned the anticipation effect from a lucky accident into a machine that runs year-round. And because award bookings are cheap to lock and nearly free to change, the machine runs on points and flexibility instead of money and stress. 1 booked, 1 brewing, write it down. Now, some of you are early. Maybe you got your first rewards card 6 months ago and you're still building towards your first bonus. Maybe you're still deciding. I want to be very clear. Nothing in the research requires a boarding pass. The studies on time off measure time off, not distance travel. A long weekend where you actually disconnect, at home or 1 town over, still counts. The state park cabin, the city an hour away you've never actually explored, your own downtown playing tourist. The cortisol research doesn't check your GPS. And here's the fun part. The anticipation effect works on a staycation too. Put it on the calendar. Give it a name. Tell the kids, your brain starts paying you the moment it becomes real. So if you're new here, start where you are. Take the time off you've already earned. Remember, most people don't. And while you're recharging, start learning this game. By the time the next trip rolls around, the machine will be warming up behind you. Every episode, I try to give you 1 thing to actually do. Today is the easiest assignment I've ever given. And according to the research, maybe the most valuable. Book something. I don't care how small. A long weekend 2 months out, a staycation, a 1-night anniversary trip. Look at your calendar this week, find the dates, and make it real. Request the time off, tell the people you love, put it in writing. And remember what you just learned in the playbook. If it's booked on points, changing your mind later usually costs you almost nothing. The excuse for waiting is gone. Because here's everything we covered compressed into one sentence. The research says time off is associated with real health benefits. The benefits work best when trips are frequent. The happiness starts at booking, and the only excuses left standing were money and commitment. And you now know how to beat both. One date on the calendar, then start brewing the next one. That's the whole assignment. Your brain starts paying you immediately. Points can handle the rest. Okay, I want to close with why this episode exists and why I decided to record it. That Hawaii trip that I mentioned earlier, the flights, the 5 hotel nights, all on points. Here's the part that I'm not sure I've told you. We haven't taken it yet. It's booked for sometime next year. And it is already the best thing in our minds. My wife and I talk about this trip all the time. We have a running list of everything we want to do, and it keeps growing. Friends who've been there keep sending us pointers. Eat here, skip that, get to this beach early. I'm over here trying to add 2 or more nights on a second island, and every time I find promising award space, it's the highlight of my week. The trip is a year out, and it's already showing up at our dinner table, in our text threads, in the best parts of our ordinary days. That's the anticipation effect. Everything the researchers described that I shared in Block 3. The dopamine, the pre-experiencing, the happiness that starts at booking. I'm not reporting on that research. I'm living in it. Right now, for the cost of $25 or so, we have over a year of looking forward to something together. And the Cornell research says that when we finally get home, the trip starts appreciating all over again as a memory. Show me anything else money buys that works that way. Somewhere out there right now is a version of you from a few years ago, working hard, vacation days piling up unused, telling themselves the trip can wait, the trip can always wait. And the research we talked through today is pretty clear about what that cost, not just in memories, in health, in years possibly. You don't have to be that person. You have the one tool most people don't. You know the money excuse is beatable. You've seen the machine. So here's my ask. This week, not Sunday, this week, pick the date, book the thing, and then come tell me about it. Find me on Instagram and TikTok at PointTurkey and tell me where you're going. I read every single message, and nothing makes my day like hearing about a trip that exists because you decided that it should. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are planning your next trip in your mind right now. Thanks for listening as always. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. All right, time for a word from our sponsor. Still nothing? Okay, so until corporate America discovers me, the sponsor is you. When you're ready for your next card, use my referral links in the show notes. The same cards, the same bonus, but I earn a few points for sending you. Everybody wins. Nobody reads terms and conditions. There's also Buy Me a Coffee, and the link is down there too if you want to fuel the podcast. And another option is you can subscribe and share this with a friend who wants nearly free travel. Back to the episode.